Welcome back to 18 Blessings and the Path to the Geula Shlema. Today we're going to talk about this beautiful illustration of the 18 blessings that I've organized and illustrated into this chart with the help of AI and a lot of patience on my part. Right? So we're going to see that by creating this chart, we're organizing the information into a single picture, and that will give us a tremendous benefit because when someone has this map, right, this becomes now a map for understanding the journey of the Shemona Esrei. And we know where we are, and if we get off course, we can get back on course by remembering the map. And this helps us, our focus and our concentration, and even more importantly, it helps us understand the relationship between all the parts. And that we're going to talk about, because when you understand all the relationship between the parts, you're seeing the deeper meaning and significance and the mysteries. And this is the gateway to what I call the prophetic code of the Shemona Esrei. You have to see how it all fits together, right? And that takes the work of making this analysis and going deeply. So that's what we're going to do together. But in order to appreciate that, you have to see that we live in a world where the media presents information in the opposite way. It wants to present information to us in a non-structured way. And this was pointed out to me a long time ago. I read a book called 4 Arguments for the Elimination of Television. And this was the very argument that the author was making. It said, hey, you could be sitting watching TV, and they could say, oh, there's a great high potential, there's going to be a major missile attack in the next half an hour. Dangerous enemies trying to kill everybody. Okay, well, now let's go to the weather. It's a beautiful day out here, isn't it today? A shiny 70 degrees, 75 degrees here, and and no rain, the sky's clear, right? And then let's check out the sports. Who won the football match last night, right? And there was a football match last night, right? So we can see all these things are completely disconnected and and if you look at their connection, it's very, very strange that you could move from something very fearful and dangerous and of concern to something that, let's talk about the cooking or the weather and sports, that is a complete entertainment. So what does this do? What does practically do? What was the argument of this author? The argument of this author was, when we're presented with the information this way, what we're doing is reducing the intelligence of the viewer. We're getting them to lack critical thinking, because critical thinking is when we're analyzing things. And analyzing things means, how does it fit together, right? We're thinking about it. But when things come randomly one after the other, we stop thinking. We stop thinking about it. And that's exactly what the advertisers want you to do. They want you to stop thinking, so that you become receptive to the power of their influence and their images, to create motivation within you to go do something, right? Or especially to buy something and want something. They want to create a desire within you, right? So they don't want you to think if that's a good desire or not a good desire. They want you to just accept that desire. And that comes through an image. An image bypasses your critical thinking and enters into your consciousness, in a deeper way, that they want to have an impact on you, right? So they want to bypass the critical thinking. Now, so we live in a culture that bombards us with this kind of waves and waves of information that tries to bypass our critical thinking. And this was like, I don't know how many years ago, 30 years ago or something, I don't know, that I read this book, and look what the world today. This was before the internet, and now, not only of TV, we have the internet, right, which is overwhelming our minds with information and completely disconnecting our intellects, and the level of its impact, and the way it's disconnecting us from our normal way of organizing information is so much more powerful than television. It's absolutely frightening, and we see the effects it's having on people, and especially on our children. Hashem should have mercy on us and our world. Not to say that I'm against the internet, but there's terrible terrible challenges and problems that we face because of practical things. But this is very important to understand, because what we're doing is we're comparing the idea of presenting information linearly. So within the Shemona Esrei, when we're reading it in a siddur, we're reading the words in a linear form. So in other words, first blessing, second blessing, third blessing, fourth blessing, fifth blessing, right? So this, in a sense, when you're going from one in a line straight down to 18 or 19 blessings, it's in a linear form, and we're not thinking about the connections between those blessings, because it's just in this linear form without organization. Linear is, or I should say, it's the simplest form of organization, but it's the hardest one to see relationships. Now, this is the same way we experience the internet. We look at through scrolling. If you're looking at YouTube, video suggestion 1, video suggestion 2, 3, 4, they just come scrolling down the screen, and there's no necessary connection between any of them. We're not really thinking about the connection of them. We're just waiting for which one is going to pop up and catch our interest. And this is like the same thing. It's creating a passive viewer who's open and waiting to have impact, right? So that's why on all these videos, make a little joke, all these people do little videos and they go, it's really crazy, It's like you see these serious people and then they go, oh, and this is going to catch your attention. So there's all different ways they want to catch your attention, but they want to do this by making you passive and just everything's floating by until boop, it catches your attention. So this is the opposite of being a thinking, analyzing, critical person. Now, why this is so important is because these powers of organizing and thinking and making connections and making insights, this is what wakes up the mind. And Baruch Hashem, we're Jewish people, and we have a culture that the foundation of our culture is books and reading. And maybe we'll be the last culture that still has printed books. And what's so special about a printed book is that the materials come in an organized fashion. There's a beginning, middle, and end, and we can see it on the pages, right? When you're looking at the internet, you're only seeing a snapshot. One snapshot, and you don't see the connection of how, you don't keep the connection. It's just waves and waves of information, and you can't even find what you were doing 2 seconds ago, right? You look at Facebook, oh, I saw this, then it disappeared. I watched this video, and then, what did I do today? I don't know, just millions of different things popped in my head today, So we're not really thinking about how they fit together. But in a book, you got to sit there slowly. You're looking at one page. All the ideas on that page are sitting right in front of you. You turn the page, and you comparing the previous page to the next page. It's physically right in front of you. When I was a professor, I had books, a large collection of books, and in my mind, if I wanted to remember something, I just naturally remembered where on the page, where in that book that idea was. And the great Torah scholars today, they have a visual memory where they remember everything in the Gemara. They can remember, that's why the great Talmidei Chachamim, they cite the page number. They memorize where it is on the page. So that's a way of seeing the connection of all the different ideas, But there's even more and more layers for how to do that. We're still, even in our Torah studies, I have to say, we're very lacking in understanding that structure, because we're so involved in trying to get massive amounts of information. We don't have time to really connect to see how all those ideas fit together. But the great scholars, they do. Once they have all that body of information there, that's what they're doing. That's what, like a Tosafot, Tosafot is connecting. How does this idea here relate to this idea I was expressed in this Gemara, making all these different contrasts, So that's why Tosafot is such a much deeper level of commentary on the Gemara, because you have Rashi, he's talking about generally what's right on the page, but the Tosafot's making those connections, and then it comes up with very big questions, very big issues. It makes you think on a much deeper level, and this is ultimately what awakens the mind to its the deeper levels of intelligence, and that is the foundation of really perceiving the deeper prophetic secrets that are revealed in the Torah and in the Shemona Esrei, as we're going to see. So let's go, that's a little introduction. Here, let's take a look at this chart. So, this is the chart, and once you put in a chart, you can see immediately it's organized. Right? It's organized because the chart is a geometrical form. It's a rectangle, and you have one side that is 3, and one side that is 6, with a total of 18 or 19. I put the two blessings together, but at the same time preserving the structure so they're in the same box. So it's 18 boxes, but with 19 blessings. So originally there were 18 to have this geometrical structure. And we're going to speak later about the question is why they wanted to violate that structure and create 19 blessings, which is a very interesting question. And I have some very interesting insights into that issue. Okay, so the first structure that we're going to talk about is the triad. We have 3s. It's organized into 3s, 6 columns of 3 triads. So I did it from right to left, following the Hebrew direction of reading. Now, we spoke about in the last video the initial structure, comparing the beginning to the end. The beginning was the promise of the providential guidance of Hashem to Avram and his children to build this great nation, inherit the land, and bring the light of God into the world. And then the completion of that with the blessing of Shalom. Right? That is one structure. We'll also see that there's also a diagonal structure and connection between Ela Kodesh and the return of the Shekhinah. We're talking about Kedusha, and the Shekhinah is the Shekhinah Kadosh, right? Now, this whole idea of structure is the foundation of the Shemona Esrei, and this is the very thing that Chazal introduces to us within their discussion of the Shemona Esrei. It's not just that arbitrary that we're talking about the structure of Shemona Esrei. This is what Chazal told us. This organization is what Chazal gave us, because what they did is they said this first column they call Avot, the last column they call Avodah, the middle 4 columns they call the requests. Right? And they said this is the proper way to approach prayer. You begin by praising someone, you make your request, and then you thank them. Right? And this is exactly what happens in the Shemona Esrei. The first 3 blessings are praises, right? The middle blessings are our requests, and the final triad is called the Avodah, which is our service. And the center of the service is Modim, thanking. We bow and thank Hashem for everything He provides for us. Now, I've given names to all the columns. In the first one, I don't call Avot, but I call it praise, because I'm using names that express the function of each of the triads. Not trying to replace the name of Avot, because these blessings are related to Avram, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, but the Chazal also tells us their purpose is to praise Hashem. So we see the beginning column is the praise of Hashem, the final column is the service of Hashem, and the middle blessings are our requests to Hashem. And the first is organized according to wisdom, is Dat, that is expressed in Teshuvah and forgiveness. The second one, the Goel Yisrael, we see Goel is to rescue Am Yisrael. And in this column we'll see it's the general sense of rescuing through healing, through providing our success of our harvest that provides us food so we can survive. The next column centered around justice. He gathers the people to form a community, and once you have a community, you need to have law and order and organization in the community. Right? So here we see the beginning of what we generally consider the Geula, the return of the people. So here, that's why you can see that this is more of a general sense of rescue, and here is the beginning of the actual process of Geula as rescue, returning to the land. And I don't know if you can see it. little El plane there as a symbol of gathering the exiles. So that is the column of justice for the community. Then we have the column centered around the building of Jerusalem. It's very clear. David HaMelech, prayer, which is centered in Jerusalem. And the final one is the Avodah, right? The return of the Shekhinah. We give thanks to him, and we request the ultimate blessing of Shalom, which is the completion of the 18 blessings, right? So we can see very clearly that it provides a very nice organization for all the information. So we already identified several structures. We have what's called the chiastic structure, which connects diagonally the beginning blessing, the last blessing, and then the second to last, the second corner here to the other blessing in the corner of this triad. Right? That's called the chiasm, because the chiasm is an X form. Chiasm is the Greek letter chi, which is an X, and so that relationship forms an X. So that's one relationship. The other relationship is vertical, the triads. Right? We have 6 triads. Then the other relationship is the horizontal connections. So this is horizontally 3 horizontal lines of blessings. And then within each with each structure, we'll see how they're organized. So in the triad, we have the beginning, the middle, and the end. The first blessing expresses the potential. The second blessing is the power to bring that potential into actuality. The third blessing is the expression of the actuality of that notion. Right? So, for example, we have Magen Avraham, which talks about the creation and God's goal to bring a holy nation into the world. In the resurrection of the dead, we see his power. He controls all of life. In El Kadosh, we see the actualization of God's greatness in the world, which is through Kedusha. So in a similar way, each of the blessings has this kind of theme. And ultimately, what is the prayer about? It's about bringing to actualization the Geula, the complete Geula, and the promise that there should be a holy nation expressing the light of God in the world. Right? So that's ultimately what we want to do. We want to bring to actualization the temple, Mashiach, the light of God, and that our prayers should bring light of blessing and shalom to Am Yisrael and the entire world. So ultimately, that's what it's all about. Prayer is to say, let's take this potential that we've been given through God's creation, and let's request and channel the power that God brings into the world. He's the source of all power, and let it see it actualized. So this is the ultimate purpose of prayer, to bring our this vision, and here it is, God's vision, which begins with Abraham and the promises to Abraham. Let us bring this vision into actuality. Right? So this is the structure and the purpose and the organization of the Shemona Esrei, and when we connect all the pieces together, we see its profound unity and are able to engage in this analysis and discover its secrets. And so that's what our work is going to be. This is just really an introduction, an overview of how of the general structure that I think is relatively clear. Right? But that becomes then a foundation to discover deeper secrets of the Torah. When we see why is it connected this way, what is the deeper meaning of it being in this structure, and we'll see that these columns relate to the holy names, the holy letters, ideas within Kabbalah, and other profound connections that we see between the Shemona Esrei and other aspects of Torah. And when we make these connections, we see what a remarkable work of art. It's prophetic in the sense that it functions on so many levels. The most basic level is we're praying for our needs as human beings. I need health. I need to be protected. Right? but all those blessings are functioning to a greater purpose. The greater purpose is the development of Am Yisrael and the movement to the grand purpose of bringing the light of God into the world through the people of Israel and the building of the temple. Okay, so this is an introduction into the map of our journey in the Shemona Esrei. And like I said, once you have the map, it keeps you focused. It makes it a more meaningful journey. And as your mind, has a tendency to wander, and we all deal with these challenges, when you have the map, a clear picture of what the Shemona Esrei is all about, then it's very, very easy to keep your focus. And if you get distracted, you can remember and get back on the journey by keeping the clear picture of the map in front of you, saying, "Hey, I know where I am. I'm in the third triad. I'm in the fourth triad. I'm not talking about the building of Jerusalem. And getting prepared for the avodah. So it makes it more meaningful because you know where you are. You're part of the development and movement that's taking place within the Shemona Esrei prayer, and then also, as we'll reveal, we'll have a deeper understanding of the meaning of each of those prayers and each of these blessings as we analyze it in this way. Unique about the Torah is that it's infinite. That we say the Nachal Naveh Makor Chachma. It's a spring that continues to flow infinitely, and I have discovered this for myself, Baruch Hashem, personally in my study of the Shemona Esrei, and that's really what motivates me and what I want to present this to you, is so you have the opportunity to enter into the study, which is not very difficult at all, and have the opportunity to discover how much depth and opportunity we have to enter into the prophetic nature of the Torah. We're here living in Eretz. We have the opportunity to live in Eretz Yisrael. A lot of us are living in Eretz Yisrael. The doors are open. We are on the gates of Geula, and we should all go more deeply. And the essential work we can do as Jews is awaken our minds to this prophetic nature of our Torah, which is ultimately about our connection to God. Right? That's what it's all about. So this is an opportunity to gain this deeper connection with God. Like I said, in the next video, I'm going to go into a lot more detail about how this works in terms of the study of the Shemona Esrei and the study and approaching studies in this way through the intelligence and seeing connections and the greater unity. So please take a look at that.